Welcome. We'll begin with Mincha on page 164. אשרי יושבי ביתך עוד יעלו חסלה.
אשרי העם שכך עלו, אשרי העם שאדוני אלוהיו.
תהילה לדוד, אור ממך אלוהי המלך, ברכה שמך לעולם ועד.
בכל יומיו ארחק, והלילה שמך לעולם ועד.
גדול אדוני ומעלה מאוד, ולגדולתו אין חקר.
דור לדור ישבח מעשיך, גבולותיך יגידו.
הדר כבוד הודך, ודברי נפלאותיך עשיך.
ועזוז נוריותיך יאמרו, גדולתך אספרנה.
זכר רב טובך יביאו, וצדקתך ירננו.
חנון ורחום אדוני, ירא כפיים וגדול חסד.
טוב אדוני לכל, ורחמיו על כל מעשיו.
יודוך אדוני כל מעשיך, וחסידיך יברכוך.
כבוד מלכותך יאמרו, גבורתך ידברו.
להודיע לבני האדם גבולותיו, וכבוד אדר מלכותו.
מלכותך מלכות כל עולמים, וממשלתך בכל דור ודור.
סומך אדוני לכל הנופלים, וזוקף לכל הכפופים.
עיני חולי לך יסברו, ואתה נותן להם את אוכלם בטוב.
פותח את ידיך ומשביע לכל חי רצון.
צדיק אדוני בכל דרכיו, וחסיר בכל מעשיו.
קרוב אדוני לכל קוראיו, לכל אשר יקראו באמת.
רצון רב יעשה, ואת שבתם ישמע ויושם.
שומר אדוני את כל אוהביו, ואת כל הרשעים ישמיד.
תהילת אדוני ידבר פיו, ויברך כל בשר שם קודשו לעולם ועד.
ואנחנו נברך יה, מעתה ועד עולם. הללויה.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בעלמא דברך ירצה והמליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי כל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב אמרו אמן.
אמן. יהא שמי רבה מברך
ישמר רבה מברך
לעולם
ולמלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקדושה ברכו.
אמן.
לעלמין כל ברכתה ושירתה תשחתה ונחמתה תמירם בעלמא ואמרו Amen. Continue with the Amidah, page 168. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elokei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, מביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ופוקד ומשיר ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה הגיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים הצרה ולהושיע, מוריד הטל. מחלקל חיים וחסד, מחיי מתים רחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בגבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיי מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
מקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ואמר.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו.
קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו.
ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה.
ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. Yanai, 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 yanai. Yanai, 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 yanai. Yanai, 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 yanai. Yanai, 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 yanai. Yanai, 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 yanai. Yanai, yanai, Continue with Kaddish Shalem on page 194. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח ירצה, והמליך מלכותה, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יש שמי רבה מברך לעולם ומעלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקדושה ברכו. לעלמין כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשוחתה ונחמתה, דמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. תתקבל צלחון ובתחון, דכל ישראל קודם ובונדי וישמעיה ואמרו אמן. יש למה רבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית שלו, עשנו כגר הטוב ולא שמנו כמשפחות אדמה. שלא שם חלקינו כהם וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ושחבים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שאמונות השמיים ועושה לארץ ומשמעות. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. We'll conclude with Mourner's Kaddish on page 198, and I'll invite those who are joining us on Zoom to unmute and join us for Kaddish if you're saying Kaddish this afternoon. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דיברח קירתה וימליך מלכותה, בחייכון וביומייכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה בזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ומעלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם וינשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי תקודשה ברכו. לעילם מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירם בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמעיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
Erev Tov. Good evening to everyone on this solemn day of Yom HaShoah, of the Holocaust Remembrance Day. And in some ways, this is to be in an empty sanctuary and know how many people, the emptiness that exists in this place right now in some way is the most fitting of all this time that we've spent in an empty sanctuary to recognize how many lives, 6 million people who would have been sitting in sanctuaries were celebrating with our people over the course of generations, and the emptiness is so with us. So we'll begin this evening with the Zelda poem, L'chol Ishei Shem. Each person has a name.
Chol Ish Yeshem. This translation by Rabbi Marcia Falk. Each of us has a name given by God and given by our parents. Each of us has a name given by our stature and our smile and given by what we wear. Each of us has a name given by the mountains, given by our walls. Each of us has a name given by the stars and given by our neighbors. Each of us has a name given by our sins and given by our longing. Each of us has a name given by our enemies and given by our love. Each of us has a name given by our celebrations and given by our work. Each of us has a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. Each of us has a name given by the sea and given by our death.
We invite everyone to please rise now, as if you're able, as the ark is opened and we take out our tarot that were saved from the Shoah.
Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo.
Hugo Hausmann, Marta Hausmann, Avram David Rechter, and part of his family, Bella Rechter, Israel Friedrich, Rachla Zelten, Shlomo Friedrich, Helene Shermont, Janine Dora, Gustavo, Michal Sussman, Stanislaus Sussman, family of Veronica Shermond, famille of Veronique Shermond, family members from Wisnik, Poland, Josef Guterman, Yehudit Guterman, Moshe Guterman, Levi Guterman, Sarah Guterman. Mordechai Salomon and Pesel. Children, Bernard, Jonas, Manush, Fanny, one other. On the mother's side, Pepe, Werner, and son. Eliezer Trencher, Yehudit Trencher, Bianca Trencher. Gabriel Rodlo, Rosenwasser, Liebermanns, Plock. For my own family, the Karaolniks, the Meislich, the Zeifs, the Srijik, the Schwarzapfel-Säufer, Fania Kramarsch with family Abrasha Berry, Bella Goldschmidt, Zlote Schwarzapfel-Rosin, Chaim Rosin, Shimon Rosin, Leib Rosin, Chana and Veva Barhatz.
As Eleanor steps away from the Shoah Megillah, which is where we're reading from with the names of all the members of BJ members and their families. So Eleanor is reading along with 5 other children and grandchildren of survivors: Miriam Abramowitz, Rochelle Friedrich, Sherry Cohen, Les Nelson, and Ella Silver Lewis.
From Ron Gutman, Solomon Gutman. From Jacqueline Scher, Marcel Weinthal, Berta Shana Weinthal, Chaim Adolf Weinthal. Nachala and Avram Minsky, Surla and Shin Weintraub. Leba Leminsky, Mota Leminsky, Avram Moshe Leminsky, cousins, aunts, and uncles. Eugene May, Dachau, 30th December 1944. Laszlo Kellerman, Mathilde Kellerman, Mixa Lengiel, Scheisler family. Camus Citruk, his wife, 7 children in Paris, France. Feivel Leib Kotler, Shifra Shula Kotler, Sarah Kotler, Shika and Pinchas Eliashkevich, and other family members, Julius Lyudvinovsky and other family members, David Yoel and other family members, Sarah Weichman's family, Pinkas Pinkel, Miriam Weishfish Pinkel, Fela Henyek Paul in Treblinka, David Weichman, Issachar, Chava, Esther, Eli, Yitzchak, and Hannah. That's the family of Ann Millman. And from the family of Rochelle Cohn, Zelig ben Velvo ben Zlata, including 6 brothers and sisters. From my own family, my maternal grandfather's siblings, Shmuel and Malya, and their children, Enya, Ruchze, Einach, Rezel, and Frede. Shlema and Sura, and their children, Ben-Zion and Chassia. Enya and David, and their children, Pirol, Pesia, and Boire. Binyamin and Chaya Pirol, and their children, Libe, Tzvia, Einach, Leka, and the youngest child, whose name we no longer remember. My maternal grandmother's siblings, Meyer and Nechama, and their children, Ruchel, Noach, and Sura. Zisya and Malka, and their children, Zelig, Simcha, Zalman, and Itzikel. Chaim and Leka, and their children, Bela and Pesia. Label and Maram Leah, and their children, Zalman and Itzik. And my mother's sister, for who I was named, Ruchel Steinberg. On my father's parents, Helen and Leopold Friedrich, were killed in Auschwitz.
This is from the Chick family, Rav Leifchik, who was killed in Poland in 1942, Shana Chick, who was killed in Vilna, Fanya Chick, who was killed in 1941, Leja Pasinski, David Belkind, Chana Chick, Mara Chick, Ethel, Mendel, and Rose. Dr. Avram David Lidsky, Tola Lidsky, Leo Telsa, Regina Scheinman, Max Mendel Scheinman, Bedelind Isaac, Benjamin, Hannah Goldman, Isidore Goodman, Herman and Jenny Bauman, Sigmund and Gertrude Blumenthal from the Mosbach, from Mosbach, Herman Coleman, Herbert Coleman, Benson Abramowitz, Sarah Abramson, Penina Adler, Fega Adam, Rika Averbum, Shabtal, who in a camp in Poland. Julius Huterer, Erna Rand, Herman Rand, and Morris Rand, from Esther Huterer. And my great-grandparents, Yitzchak Silberberg, Tziporat Silberberg, Shalom Reichik, Rivka Reichik, and Yente Reichik.
Herman Solomon, Herbert Solomon, Benson Abramovitz, Sarah Abramson, Pina Adler, Fege Adler, Rivka Auerbach, Sebastian Ogatowski. Julius Hutterer, Erna Rand, Herman Rand, Morris Rand. Leah Wexler, Mendel Leib Wexler, Sarah Wexler Levine, Perke Wexler, Itke Wexler, Chaya Glazer Guberski, Hanke Guberski, Yankel Batchen, Hayem Batkin, Sorke Batkin, Frumke Geberski Yoel, David Yoel, Aaron Vevel Yoel, Shleme Geberski, Tante Grunke, Etel Glazer Katerovitz, Sale Glazer, Rivka Horowitz, Brene Shepsel, Hazel Rogovski, Gitke Rogovski, Mishke Lapuk, Semach Rosenberg, Hirschke Kreskin, Herschke Schmidt, Yankele, Mirke von Oschmine. Rivke Bele Lampel and her 7 children, Alicia Gellis and Cecilia Gellis, Lena Abramovich, Hillel Abramovich, Anna Frank, Felix Nussbaum, Mala Zimmerbaum, Irina Nemirovsky. The family of Danny Sellemeyer, Alma Sellemeyer, Stephanie Glass, Jacob Glass, Tira Glass, Michlaslau Glass, Irena Glass. Claire Rubin, Albert Rubin, Tony Poser, Osnas Poser, Armand Poser, Rachel Poser, Charlotte Poser, Anna Goldstick, Shimon Goldstick, Mendel Goldstick. And from my family, my grandmother, Sarah Korngrun, my grandfather, Rudolf Korngrun, my great-grandmother, Rivka Goldberg, my great-grandmother, Ruchel Korngrun, Fischel Goldberg, wife and children, Ruchel Goldberg, wife, husband and children, Nathan Goldberg and family, Michael Goldberg and family, Etka and Max Schmergel, Gusta Korngrun and family, Ronia Korngrun and family, Zina Korngrun and family, Hella Honigsberg and daughter Linda Honigsberg, who was 9, Helena Honigsberg, Rosa Honigsberg, Kitty Honigsberg, who was a child also, Rudolf, Frida, and their son Antal Honigsberg, George Honigsberg, 3 years old. Suzanne Honigsberg, 5 years old. Ignaz, Lena, Renata, Hedwig, Aldebert, Bella, and Sigbert Honigsberg. Paul Benger, Gertie Hacker. My grandfather's siblings and family: Alfred Cohn and family, Max Cohn and family, Moritz Cohn and family, Olga Cohn and family, Fanny Cohn and family, Emma Cohn and family, Selma Cohn and family.
Yitzhak Agnitz Ixkovic, Sarah Ixkovic, who were interred in Czechoslovakia and were deported from the ghetto in April 1944. Moritz Itzkovich, his wife Ilanka, and 4 of their children, Bella, Margit, Edward, and Gabriel. Sister Lenka, her husband, Shonol Yakubovich, and their 3 children, Lily, Milka, and Gustav. 2 children of her sister Dora, Yosef and Lily, a sister Berta and her daughter Zhuzi. Alexander Shmuel Neufeld and Peril Neufeld died before the deportation in spring 1944 of the Jews of the village of Selch. Donald Eisler's family, great-grandmother, Sigmund Friedman, great-aunt and uncle and their son, Elsa, Herman, and Hans Sternbach, great-aunt, Henriette Rosenberg, great-aunt and uncle, Emma and Karl Marburger, great-aunt and uncle, Paula and Jakob Bernhardt, cousins, Lane, Max, Fritz, Adolf, and Willy Kaufman, Regina Kaufman-Keller, Nathan Keller, Marianne Kaufman, Emma Schnabel, Matilda Schnabel, Ernest Stampf, Ernestine Fischer, Chaim Hershkovitz, Rachel Hershkovitz, Pinkas Hershkovitz, Shmuel Hershkovitz, Avraham Hershkovitch, Leah Hershkovitch, Shlomo Hershkovitch, Wolf Hershkovitch. The Shmuelites family: Lieb, Velvel, Israel Chaim, Hannah, Blima, Ringa, Molly Sternschus, Sadie Sternschus, Jaime Sternschus, Shimon Sternschus, Max Baum, Malka Ra, Chaya Shlomo Egelstein, Pinkas Weinfeld, Samuel and Gila Matzin, Hanuk Matzin, Luba Meyer Hinda, Chaim Rock, Moshe Rock, Bluma Huch, Paula, and members of my family who perished: my maternal grandfather, Adolf Grungold, my uncle, Samuel Grungold, my paternal grandfather, Louis Nutzbaum, my paternal grandmother, Margaret Nutzbaum. I also remember the survivors in my family: my grandmother, Ethel Greengold, and my mother, Julia Nelson, who survived Auschwitz, and my father, George Nelson, who survived forced labor.
Steinberg family. Shimon, Maril, Enya, Rushke, Hanok, Rezel, Friedel, Shloimi, Sura, Ben Sion, Chasye, Enik, David, Perel, Pesach, Dvore, Chaya, Pirel, Ukbe, Yeti, Tzvi, Henok, Liebel, Meyer and Nechama, Ruchel, Nayer, Sura, Malka, Zelig, Simcha, Zalman, Itzik, Bela, Pesach, Marem, Ledel, Zalman, Yitzik, Ruchel, Leopold, and Helen Friedrich. Sarah Leah Dombrovsky, Harav Chaim Dov, Etele Dombrovsky, Aryeh Dombrovsky, Shaina Shapira, Yudel Dombrovsky, Sheila Dombrovsky, Tobiah Kaplansky, Yaakov Kaplansky, Etele Tukelman, Moshe Tukelman, Zosha Shinwald, Mendel Shinwald, Yitzchak Shinwald, Reuven Shapira, Rochel Shapira, Yitzchak Shapira. The family of Henry Weinman, Lemel Weinman, Rivka Weinman. From the family of Miriam Steele, André Blum, Joseph Blum, Marischka Blum, Gertrude Blum, Ladislav Weil, Alfred Weiss, Ernestina Weiss, Irma Weiss, Deslo Fahidi, Gilike Fahidi, Pali Weiss, Imre Weiss, Rosinka Fahidi, Zerenka Fahidi, Topol Fahidi. My father's sister and two children, Lena Abramovich, his brother Hillel Abramovich. I want to mention also artists and writers, some of which I have here. Anna Frank, Felix Nussbaum, the painter, Mala Zimmetbaum, the resistant member, Irene Neberovsky, Max Jacob, the poet, artist, and art collector, Yitzhak Katzenelson, the poet, Charlotte Salomon, Peter Klein, Hannah Senesh, Wolf Dumbashkin. And I also want to acknowledge that in the helping of creating the Shoah Megillah was Judy Geller Marlowe, Sandy Borowski, and Karen Brown.
With the names of the family of Tom Reiner, Alav Shalom, the husband of Susan Lieberman, Josef Borer, Camila Wiener Borer, Greta Borer Kapek, Hugo Strassler, Ernestine Borer Strassler, Max Kohn, Sarah Borer Kohn, Heinz Kohn, Leon Borer, Wolf Borer, Revke Borer, Sabine Strich, Abram Strich, Willy Rusek, Ella Strich Rusek and daughter, Tina Bronner, Josef Bronner, Hugo Pick, Mitzi Reiner Pick, and Hanush Pick. The Freirach family, Hannah Feige Freirach, Moshe Hirsch Freirach, Jeruchem Freirach, Friedel Freirach, Pinchas Weinfeld, Sprinze Weinfeld, Hela Weinfeld, Malka Re, Rosha, Esther, Hannah, Sarah, Gittel, Hillel, Aaron, and Itare. Chaya, Rochel, Shlomo, Shmuel, Elazar, and Pinchas Engelstein. and the family of Ilse Melamed, Hela Hönigsberg, Linda Hönigsberg, Helene Hönigsberg. Before we go to the members who are on Zoom, who will read their names of their loved ones, I'd like to say just a word about this beautiful nigun that we've been hearing for the last half an hour or so. This nigun has a beautiful story. It is told that sometime in the middle of the 18th century, Rabbi Leb, who was a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, was traveling in Hungary, and he came to the town of Kalev in Hungary, and he met a little boy who was a shepherd. This little Jewish boy, he recognized that he had a special neshama, and he told the mother of this boy, who was a widow, your child is going to be a great Rebbe. The mother sent the child to study in the school of the great Rebbe Shmelke of Nikolsburg, and eventually this child grew up and indeed became a Rebbe, the Rebbe of Kalev, Yitzhak Isaac Taub, the first Rebbe in Hungary. This Rebbe had an incredible voice, a special ear. He was called the sweet singer of Israel. And he collected many songs that were popular songs in Hungary, in the area where he lived. And he turned them into Hasidic nigunim. He also composed many nigunim. And this special nigun that we just heard is a Hungarian melody or a Hungarian song called Szól a Kakasmár. It is a song about a beautiful bird. This bird is a rooster. According to the Jews of Hungary who've sung it for generations, this is the rooster that will announce the coming of the dawn, the end of the dark night of exile and suffering and dispersion, and will bring in the dawn of redemption, messianic times. And so particularly at the time of the Shoah, this nigun, this song, Szól a Kakasmár, supported, sustained, nourished many of the Jews in Hungary who were suffering through the Holocaust. As many of you know, 500,000 Hungarian Jews were deported to Auschwitz after March of 1944, when the Nazis invaded Hungary. And many of them went to their death singing this nigun of hope, of the vision of Messianic redemption. And so this nigun became, in many ways, the anthem of Hungarian Jews. And we all find it very moving and deep. And if you can find the words, you'll see the words about this beautiful bird that is the rooster that brings in the light of dawn. our members on Zoom to share the names of their loved ones, members of their families who perished in the Shoah.
Walter Goldschmidt, Nettie Cohn, Elvira Pfeffer, Clara Adler, Josef Goldschmidt, Wilhelm Goldschmidt, Nehemiah Goldschmidt, Gideon Goldschmidt, Zygmunt Goldschmidt, and the survivors, my mother, Ruth Goldschmidova Sachs, her mother, Erna Goldschmidt, and her father, my grandfather, Oskar Goldschmidt.
From my mother's side, from Hungary, the town of Kishkorish, most of its population, and in particular, my aunt, Eva Klein, her infant Clara Klein, my grandmother, Rachel Klein, my aunt, Edith Klein, Solomonovich, and Miriam Yeno Kraus, and their child, Sweet. On my father's side, Odon and Yisrael Weintraub, and their children, Yanka and Yana. My cousins did survive on the Kastner train. The family, Amsel family. Thank you.
My grandparents, Heinrich and Jenny Baumann of Allesheim, a tiny town in Bavaria. My great aunt, great uncle, and their daughter, Siegmund and Gertrude Blumenthal and Leni Blumenthal of Mosbach, Germany. And I'd like to say how much I honor my mother, now deceased, who came to the United States and made a life for herself and loved B'nai Jeshurun.
My mother's parents, my grandparents, Nechama and Shlomo Shapiro, Dotnova, Lithuania, their children, Moshe and Miriam, and their infant child, Pessy and Yitzchak Golden and their infant child, Miriam and her husband. They were 10 of the 1,125 Jews killed on September 2nd, 1941, outside of Crocus, and 11 members of my wife Gail's family, of the Drescher and Greenspan families from Hungary. Thank you.
My paternal grandmother, Rizha Vogelman, her son David and his wife and family, her daughter Devora and her husband and family. My maternal grandparents, Sarah and David Rosenrod and their extended family, and survivors, my aunt Gala and her husband Nachum Karaulnik, and my parents Chaya Rosenrod and Mechel Vogelman.
Okay. For my family, Hirsch Korn, Shana Korn, Israel Korn, Menashe Korn, Chaim and Yitzhak Zeif, Etel Korn, Mortra Miller, Yehidus San, Chaim and Rachel Fuchs, and 8 children. Baruch Morosevich, David Morosovich, Fagala Morosovich, Isaac Morosovich, Haya Berman and her husband, Joram and Simcha Rosenwasser and daughter Helinka, Israel Morosovich, Mendel and Emily Morosovich, Maya Greengrass, Slava Greengrass, Yaakov and Edgar Greengrass, and their 2 children, Sarah and Avraham. Rabbi Moshe Greengrass, Chaya Greengrass, Israel and Rachel Greengrass and 2 children, Sarah Libby Greengrass and her daughter Rachel, Chaya and Baruch Morisovich and their son Alexander, Sarah Greengrass, Israel Greengrass, David Label and his wife Chaya Greengrass and children, Fagel Libby, Herschel, Chaim Yalistutsky, Bluma Yalistutsky, Simcha Rothbach and his children Shmuel and Yaakov, Alta Morris, Sila Morris, Gedolia Morris, Yitzhak Morris, Miriam Zolandas, Chaya Frieda Nagorka, Faged Liba Nagorka, Hannah Nagorka, Chaya Hitka Lichtenstein and her children Dora, Jacob, Avram and Shmuel, Israel Goldman, Malka Frockman. And this year I add my great uncle and aunt Yecheskel and Pesca Rivka Reifman and their children Moshe, Yosef, Shulam, and Aaron.
The names of just some of my Dutch ancestors who perished. Abraham Park, Sobi, David Park, Auschwitz, Emmanuel Hartog Park, Auschwitz, Emmanuel Joseph Park, who shares my grandfather's name, Auschwitz, Hartog Park, Auschwitz, Joseph Hartog Park, Auschwitz, Nathan Park, Sobibor, Sarah Park, Auschwitz, Ellie Park Bamber, 17-year-old girl, Auschwitz, Eva Park Frank, Auschwitz, and Rachel Park Moscader, Auschwitz.
The members of my family who were killed in Kovna and Mariampole in Lithuania. My grandfather Shradale Kotler, my grandmother Shifra Kotler, my aunt Sarah Kotler, members of the Yoel family, Luba Eliashkevitz, Pinchas Eliashkevitz, Shike Eliashkevitz, other members of the Eliashkevitz family, Julius Ludvinovsky, and other members of that family. I also want to remember my parents who are no longer alive. My mother and my father, Solomon Eliash, who survived Dachau, and my mother, Leah Eliash, who survived the Kovna ghetto. And I also want to remember my rescuers, Valia and Jurgis Mertulionis, who hid me in their home.
My great aunts, Paula, Adela, and Basha Zygmunt, my great grandparents, Zvi and Sarah Zygmunt, and all of the uncles, aunts, and cousins in the Zygmunt family from Khmelnyk who were killed in Belchek, and also Imri Davidovitz, Ignaz Mandel, and Bella Braun from Slovakia, and finally in memory of my grandfather, Samuel Zygmunt, and his twin brother, Zevik Zygmunt, both survivors.
My great-grandmother Sigmunda Friedmann, who lived in Stuttgart and died in Theresienstadt. My great-aunt and uncle Elsa and Hermann Dirnbach and their son Hans Dirnbach, who moved from Germany to Yugoslavia because they thought they would be safe there. Unfortunately, they weren't. My great-aunt Henrietta Rosenberg, her daughters Ilse Rosenberg, Hanne Rosenberg, and Lotte Bachmann. Lotte's husband, Julius Bachmann, the twin daughter and son of Lotte and Julius, Reiche Bachmann and Jetro Bachmann, who were about 2 or 3 years old when they were killed. They all lived in Dortmund, Germany. My great-aunt and uncle Emma and Karl Marburger, who lived in Duisburg, Germany. My great-aunt and uncle Paula and Jakob Bernhard, who lived in Düsseldorf. All the rest after this lived in the city of Mersch near Düsseldorf. My cousins, who were 5 adult siblings, none of whom married or had children. Lene Kaufmann, Max Kaufmann, Fritz Kaufmann, Adolf Kaufmann, and Willi Kaufmann, and the family of my late cousin Rudolf Kaufmann, his mother Regina Kaufmann-Keller, his stepfather Nathan Keller, and his sister Marianne Kaufmann.
We read names, millions of names every year, but they were mothers and fathers and brothers and children. And I always talk about my grandpa and my papi because it was his family that he lost everyone. His oldest brother had died before the war. He left his wife, Sarah, me, and their two children, Jacques and Cantor. He lost his beloved brother, Solomon, he and Lucia, and his son, Albert, were also sent to Auschwitz. I wanted to mention from Salonika. His sister, Gentil, they married Jacob Cohn, and their three children, Lucia, Victoria, and Ovid, died. And the youngest son, who he didn't marry, and he had mental disability, and he also was killed. When I was thinking about about all the people we lost, I think about that are here now in my family, in your family. And because we're from Salonika, I'm really proud that the CEO of Pfizer, that you probably know, Roly, is from Salonika. And he has a story of, and I have, we all have, many of us, Pfizer in our arm, from this group.
My father's family from Baranovich, Avshalom Mishkin, my grandfather,
Elisheva Mishkin, his grandmother,
Nachum Mishkin, my uncle,
Rosa Mishkin,
and from Kovno, my mother's family, Yitzhak Rubin, my grandfather,
Hadassah Rubin,
Aaron Rubin, my uncle, his wife Esther Rubin, and my cousin Brina Rubin,
Israel Rubin,
Moshe Rubin,
Elchanan Rubin,
Yechezkiel Rubin.
David Rubin.
Thank you.
My mother and her immediate family survived, but many other family members did not. Her grandmother and my great-grandmother, Rivka Kroman, and other members of the Kroman family. My great-aunt, Toba Robel, her sister, their husbands and children, and other members of the Robel family. Members of the Goldenstein family, including one son, young son. My great-grandfather, Mordechai Dubiecki. My great-uncles, Isaac Dubiecki and David Dubiecki. My great-uncle, Zachariah Dubiecki, his wife and two children, whom my mother had been in hiding with in 1942, all from Poland, and my sons were the last couple names.
From Paris, our great-great-aunt Leah Dubiecki Brenwain and her sons, Roger Brenwain, who was 3, and Joseph Brenwain, who was 10.
And they were transported to France and killed in Auschwitz. And for Benji and my bar mitzvah, we dedicated we dedicated our bar mitzvah to those two boys.
Hi, I'm reading for my father's family, his parents, Morris and Fanny Weinberger, his siblings, Mendel Weinberger, Rose Weinberger, Ida Weinberger, and Tova Weinberger, and his first wife, Ann's child, whose names, unfortunately, we do not know. Thank you.
My paternal grandparents from Slovakia, Simon and Margaret Gross. From Prague, my maternal grandfather, Otto Singer, maternal stepfather, Fred Gumpel, Walter, Oscar, and Elsa Libochovitz, and Frida Reusch, aunts and uncles. In Yugoslavia, Gretel, Helga, and Franz Lowenthal. From Warsaw, my stepfather's family, about 20 cousins. Hasidim could have been 400, 500, 600 people. Thank you.
We are reading for my great grandmother, Clara Stoyer, and my great grandfather, Arya Lieb Stoyer, for who I'm named after, Nachum Stoyer, Ruchel Stoyer, Alexander Stoyer, and Max Stoyer.
Sarah Tepper, Shlomo Tepper, Dora Tepper, Anna Tepper, Liba Fan, Bernard Reamer, Batia Fan, Mordechai Smuck, Sabine Smuck. This is the family of Alandra Sue of Belgium, whose family hit my mother and my aunt. Marcus Dressou, Louis Dressou, Judith Dressou, Leander Dressou, Moses Dressou, Milcha Dressou Cohen de Lara, Josephina Dressou von Prague, Elizabeth Dressou, Barbara Painha Dressou, Elizabeth Rubens Dressou, Eliezer Van Houten. And I just want to add one thing. We last year attended the closing exhibition in Cologne, the Kindertransport from Germany to Belgium. And my mother never once used the word Kindertransport in her life. So it was the first time I had heard it in connection with her. And we honored this wonderful family, and it was a great, it was wonderful to be there and to learn about this history in greater depth. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'm reading the names of my grandmother's siblings and their children from Chmelnik, Poland. She came from a family of 9. One brother came with her. One sister went to England, and the rest of a very large family were killed, we think, in Treblinka. Moshe Yaroslav and his wife Hannah Minzenmacher and their children Rivka, Feiga, Michael, and David. Meir Minzenmacher and his wife Sarah and their daughters Esther Lieber and Sprinza. Sprinza Minzenmacher and her daughters Rivka and Mendel, who died in Warsaw. Nuta Minzenmacher, his wife Hessel, and their children Hannah Machala, Sprinza, Huda, and Yached. My grandmother's brother Joseph Minzenmacher, his wife Steindl, and their children Sarah, Pola, and her husband Leon Dallerman. Hannah, Devorah, Avram Yaakov, Chaim Nathan, and Shmuel. Her brother Chaim Minzenmacher and his wife Hannah Shmulevitz, who was actually my grandfather's sister, and their children Yisrael Lieb Minzenmacher, his wife Eva Kuska, and their son Simcha. Norton Yitzhak Minzenmacher, Avram Yaakov Minzenmacher, Rivka Minzenmacher, Chaya Mindel Minzenmacher. The Shmulevitz family, who was from Kelts. My grandfather's brother, Belville Shmulevitz, and his family, unfortunately names unknown. My grandfather's brother, Shmuel Harsh Shmulevitz, and his 3 daughters, unfortunately names unknown. His sister, Belima Shmulevitz, and her family, names unknown. The family members of my grandfather's cousin, it's the well-known Yiddish daily poets writer Itzhak Shmulevitz. His sisters, Belima, Reisel, Cyril, Hannah, Freeman Shmulevitz, and the mother and sister of his wife, Esther Krakowska and Sima Krakowska. They were from Yels. Thank you.
My father's family, who remained in Ostrosidleski, Poland, the Zuckerman family, my late wife, Musia, parents, Joseph Diamondstein and Leah Diamondstein, all of whom were survivors in hiding, and her family, the Turitz family, Devorah, the grandmother, and her 2 sons, David and his wife and 2 children, and Salel Turitz. Thank you.
On my father's side, from Beryxaz, Hungary, his mother, Bertha Fish, my grandmother, Bertha Fish, his father, Mordechai Solomon, his sister, Fanny Solomon, his brother, Menush Solomon, another brother, Bernard Solomon, another sister, Sherry Solomon, and another brother, Jonas Solomon. My father survived by sewing the Nazi uniforms. And on my mother's side, she survived by being part of the death march. Her mother, Pepe Berner, and her 2 brothers, whose names I don't know, last names are Berner. Thank you very much.
I'm reading the names of the family of Bonnie Latz, UK member, and my friend. Ella Muller, Jakob Muller, Arnold Weiss, and Miriam Reichart. Thank you.
These are the names of my grandmother's family killed in Pinsk and Rudetz, Poland. Bella Weissman, Pesja Weissman, Kashka Weissman, Etel, Yaakov, Avraham, Miriam, Sonia, Asher, and Shulamit Lieberman. And 1 survivor, Frida Oshman, who just passed away and lived in Israel until now. Thank you.
continue now with the lighting of the memorial candle. If people have a candle at home, we invite them to rise. Those who are able to rise now and light a candle, and we will light 6 candles here. Our friends who read from the Shoah Megillah will now approach the table and light the candles. Stay a moment of silence.
שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע המזהירים, את נשמות כל אחינו בני ישראל, אנשים נשים וטף, שנטבחו ושנחנקו ושנשרפו ושנהרגו בגן עדן תהי מנוחתם. ענה בעל הרחמים, הסתירם בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמותיהם, אדוני הוא נחלתם, וינוחו ושלום על משכבותיהם, ונאמר אמן.
Exalted, compassionate God, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the souls of our brothers and sisters, men, women, and children of the house of Israel who were slaughtered and suffocated and burned to ashes. May their memory endure, inspiring truth and loyalty in our lives. May their souls thus be bound up in the bond of life. May they rest in peace. Let us say Amen.
Amen.
Monos Kaddish together. יתקדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה כרותי וימליך מלכותי, לחיי יכון וביום יכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה, נמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. שלמה רבה מן שמיה, חיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן.
למחזיקים בה ותומכיה מאושר, דרכיה דרכי נועם וכל נתיבותיה שלום. השיבנו אליך ונשובה חדש ימינו חדש ימינו
We turn now to the service of Arvit, the evening service, which can be found on page 200 in Sim Shalom. Rise if you're able. ורחום יכפר בו ולא ישחית, והרבה להשיבה פה ולא יאיר כל חמתו. אדוני יושיע מלך ידינו ביום קורנו. ברכו את אדוני המבורך.
ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. May be seated. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בברוך מרבים ורבים. בחוכמה פותח שערים ובתבונה שני נתיבים. ומחליף את הזמנים מסדר את הכוכבים ורשמי המרכיר כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה גולה לאור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה אדוני ומבדיר בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו חי וקיים. Tamid Melech Aleinu Le'olam Amen. Baruch atah Adonai, Amari Barabim, Avat Olam Beit Yisrael Amchavta, Torah Mitzvot Ugimur Shatim Otanu Le'maratal Ked Adonai Eloheinu Meshachvinu V'Kumeinu Nasiach B'chukacha V'nismach B'divrei Toratecha U'mitzvotecha Le'olam Amen. Ki hem chayenu v'horech yameinu v'hem negeh yomam b'layla v'avatcha tzasim mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai Reb Amo Yisrael. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו תותפות בין עיניך וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך ויאמר אדוני משה לאמור ציצית למען תזכור ועשיתי בקבוצות אמת. Adonai Lemechem Emet. In the middle of 204. Emet B'munah Kozot V'kayam Aleinu Kihu Adonai Eloheinu Ben Zulato V'anachnu Yisrael Amo Habodenu Miyad Melachim Alkeinu V'go Aleinu Mikaf Kol Ha'aritzim Elaf Nifrad Lanu Mitzarenu Meshalem Gamu L'cho Eloi V'nafshenu Ha'oseh Gedolot Tanein Chekem V'niflaot Tanein B'smar Asam Nafshenu B'chayim V'lo Natan Lamo Ragleinu Amen Derechenu Abamot Oilenu Ayar Mkarnenu Al-Kosonenu עשה לנו ניסים ונקמה בפרעה אותות ומופתים באדמת פניכם המכה בעברתו כל בכורי מצרים ויוצא את עמו ישראל מתוכם לחירות עולם המעביר פניו בין גזרי ים סוף ואת רוטליהם ואת צונם זהו מותי בה ראו בניו גבורתו שיבחו והודו לשמעו מלכותו ברצון גמלו להם משה מרים ובני ישראל לחנו שירה בשמחה רבה ויאמרו כולם מי כמוך בדים אדוני מי כמוך נדר בקודש נוראתי לו תוסיף אלה מלכותך ראו בניך בוקר לפני משה זה אלינו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם להם ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. We pray for peace, peace 206. השכיבנו אדוני אלינו לשלום העמידנו מלכנו לחיים ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך והושיענו למען שמך והגן בעדנו ועשר מלך והסר שטן מפנינו מאחרינו וצר כנפיך תסירנו כי ישומנו מצילנו אתה מלכנו ורחום אתה ושמור צאתנו ואוהנו לחיים לשלום מעתה ועד עולם ברוך אתה אדוני שומר עמו ישראל לעד. Please rise if you're able. Kaddish page 208 and then we'll go right into the silent Amidah on page 210. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ויעמד יברך וירצה וימליך מלכותי וחייכון וימלכון וחיי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן.
אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעולם.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ושמו ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי קודש בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה דמירן ויאמר ויאמרו אמן. Shalem, page 222. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברכותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי תוכל בית ישראל, בגלה בזמן קריב במרוע מהם. יהי שמי רבה ברח לעולמו מעלמיה, יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם, וינסה ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל, שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תשבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צערו ובאתו נכו, ישראל קדם ובנדרי שמיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום רבה בין שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום ברמה ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. We turn now to the Sfirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. Last night we counted 10. We're moving into the attribute of Netzach Shebegvura, the attribute of ambition or endurance in discipline. Page 237, we'll join together in the Kavanah. הנני מוכנה מזמנת לקיים מצוות עשה של ספירת העומר, כמו שכתוב בתורה, וספרתם לכם ממחרת השבת, מיום אביכם את עומר התנופה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, עד ממחרת השבת השביעית תספרו 50 יום. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו על ספירת העומר. היום 11 יום שהם שבוע אחד ב4 ימים לעומר. We turn now to Aleinu, page 224. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל התקן, לייצר בראשית שלא עשינו כרצון, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם אנחנו. לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שונת השמיים ויסרת משה מקדשו. הוא אלוהינו אלינו כן נקבל לך אדוני אלוהינו לרוק נדברנו זכה להעביר גנבים מן הארץ ועלינו. להפנותי לך כל ישב, כקרב ידיו כל ישבי תבל, כי לך תקרא כל ברך לך תשב. יקבלו כולם את מלכותך ותמלוך עליהם מהרה לעולם ועד, כי המלכות שלך היא עולמד עד תמלוך בכבוד, ככתוב בתורתך. אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ. ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Mourners Kaddish, for those marking a yard site, those who are in mourning, if you're on Zoom and are a mourner, you're welcome to unmute. At this time, page 226. יתגדל ויקדש שמי רבה.
אמן.
בימה דברך ירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון ובימיכון, חיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן.
אמן.
יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עלמיה. Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpa'ar, Vitromam, Vietnase, Vietadar, Vietalev, Vitalal, Shemed Kudesha, Brichu, Leila, Minko Berchata, Vishirata, Tushbachata, Venechamata, Dat Miran, Me'ama, V'imru, Amen. Yehesh, Lama, Rabba, Min Shemaya, V'chaim, Aleinu, Ve'al Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom,
B'mamad, Oseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael,
Ve'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru,
Amen.
Amen. Erev Tov to everyone. We want to thank Miriam Abramovitz and Cantor David Mintz and all those who participated this evening, as well as Beth Tarson and members of our team here, Terrence, Mikey, Jonathan, and Justin. This evening, there'll be the community gathering on Zoom for the reading of the names with the Marlene Meyerson JCC and all the other synagogues of the Upper West Side and communities, beginning at 10 p.m. You can still register to join the Zoom and hear the reading of the names at the jccmanhattan.org. However, registration has already closed for those who will be reading the names. BJ's slot is at 1:30 to 2 o'clock in the morning. Tomorrow evening, just as Yom HaShoah ends, join us for a conversation with Joshua M. Green, who is the author of Unstoppable, Siggy B. Wilzig's Astonishing Journey from Auschwitz Survivor and Penniless Immigrant to Wall Street Legend. Green is a lecturer on Holocaust history. We'll be in conversation with Dr. Eva Fogelman, a psychologist and pioneer in historical trauma research and therapeutic techniques for Holocaust survivors and their descendants. She's also an award-winning filmmaker. BJ is honored to host this event in grateful recognition of the Peaceman Foundation and Ivan Wilzig, who've made a generous contribution to BJ in support of our volunteer vaccination program. So if you'd like to register for the event tomorrow night at 7:30, please go to our website, bj.org, to register. And we'll conclude the evening singing the words of Hannah Senish, Eli, Eli. Eli, Eli, Shelo Yigamer Leolam, Hachol Ve'hayam, Rish Rush Shel Hamayim, Merak HaShamayim, Tefilat Ha'adam, Ha'chol Ve'hayam, Rish Rush Shel Hamayim, Merak HaShamayim, Tefilat Ha'adam.
Erev Tov, good evening to everyone.